Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's F1 show. Only 13 days to go now till we return to racing. We'll be doing that at the Red Bull Ring a week next Sunday. I'm delighted to say joining us for the penultimate F1 show before we get back on the road, Paul di Resta, Karun Chandhok, and I'm delighted to welcome to the party Daniel Ricciardo, who is in Monaco, I understand. Danny, how are you? How's lockdown? It's been a little bit busy for you, as far as I understand.
Hello, hello, fellow people. Um, it's been good. I enjoyed it. I think I was pretty fortunate to have a lot of space out in Australia where I was, and yes, I was in like very strong isolation, and it was nice. I haven't spent that much time in Australia in 12, 13 years. So it was cool. It was really nice for me actually. Time to switch off.
Yeah, time to switch off, but you got a lot done work-wise too. By the sounds of it, moving from Renault to McLaren, as we know. Come on, this is the first time I think we've spoken to you since the very beginning of lockdown when you were on that farm in Australia, and we had no idea then. Did you have an inkling? When did this first come about?
Well, it was, I mean, it's obviously these things take time. So it's not, it didn't happen over the course of a week or 2 weeks. Um, I think back when I signed with Renault, what year are we? 2018, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was having conversations with McLaren at the time, so I guess I kept somewhat of a relationship with the guys there, and yeah, so it was quite kind of easy to reignite the conversation, I guess, earlier in the year. But it was yeah, I guess it was a lot of like thought, and obviously it wasn't an easy process, especially not having any racing and a whole lot to really dictate the decision from it, at least this year. But I think just having like the space and being out on the farm, I certainly had no distractions, so like a lot of time to kind of make my mind up. But yeah, not an easy one still, obviously.
Danny, I mean, that's a good point because we've had no racing this year. So, you've got a pitch, I guess, from McLaren saying, listen, we're going to be wonderful in 2021 onwards, come to us. Presumably, Renault also had their own pitch and their own idea of why you should have stayed. Without having done any races and know what this year's car would be like and then potentially going forward, how, what was the difference? Like, what made you swing your vote one way or the other?
Yeah, I basically I got in Australia we have we I think you have it as well, like heads or tails, and I just flipped a coin, and that was that.
I mean, you must be a very rich man to be able to flip a coin over that sort of money.
No, it's
He's
look,
lying
it's
to you,
I
Karun. He's
think
lying to you.
I think it is tough, and it's probably also not fair to like go into details of like why I thought this or that, um, or like comparing the two. And I think the reality is it's not a very it's still not like a clear cut decision, I guess, in terms of yes, McLaren. I think they certainly stood out last year. No mistake. I think they were the team on the grid who made the biggest progress. So there's the appeal with that. But in saying that, I didn't expect us at Renault to fight for wins or podiums last year. So it's like I know that we didn't achieve what we wanted, but there was still obviously room to grow and to do that. But I guess yeah, just seeing what McLaren had done, that was probably a little bit more, I guess, to convince me. But it was yeah, I think they both got there's arguments for and against, and time will tell if the one I've made is the right one.
Did it take a lot of process to think about that, Daniel? And I guess uh, having that to doing that.
Sorry, mate, you cut out a little bit. I heard the first sentence. What was the last part?
I'm saying, did it the time to reflect on it when you were off? Did that help come to that? I guess not having to think about this year, and I guess that's where all the focus has gone on to now.
Yeah, it was like, look, having all the time, I think was it was nice, but also, yeah, I think it would have been easier to kind of make decisions if the season was going as planned, with racing. I think by now we would have had however many races already, over half a dozen or so. So like it made it trickier to have a bit less of a gauge, but at the same time, it was nice to have a lot of thinking time. And the biggest thing I took from, the time out of the seat and the time away from the racing was how much I missed it, how much I love it, how much I want to continue to do it. And there's times where it does get you down. You're like, oh, like, do I want to do this another 5 years, or, am I going to be done in a year or so? But yeah, not having it definitely reminded me how much I miss it. So it certainly fueled me to want to stay and be, successful in the sport for many years to come. And I guess this was, um, yeah, I don't know if that's much of a reason for obviously the switch, but it's certainly a reason for me just wanting to get back into it and stay in the sport for certainly a few more years to come.
Yeah, I bet it's refocused quite a few. I mean, you're not a veteran. You're for those that are not 20 anymore. I think it's probably refocused everybody's minds. But with regards to this season, Daniel, obviously you're going to be focusing on that with Renault now. You guys have been at the Red Bull Ring, I'm right in saying, with a 2-year-old car. But was that with a new engine? How's that going? Have you got high hopes? Because obviously it's a shortened season. Mistakes are going to count more. There's opportunity, isn't there?
Yeah, so it was everything was like 2018 spec, so car,
Okay.
engine, and I guess, yeah, the tires we just get from Pirelli are like the demo test tires. But it was nice so even if it's not completely relevant to what we're going to have in a couple of weeks, it was nice to not only get on the track, but for me to kind of shake off the cobwebs, to interact with the team again, and just to start getting back into work mode, from a racing point of view. I've been training physically the last few months, but obviously I haven't driven an F1 car, so to kind of get my mind back into that state was cool. Austria was really our worst, I think our worst race last year. So to have a chance to go back there and have two races, I think we're going to take that as a positive and a chance to really learn and improve on last year, as opposed to saying, well, this isn't going to be a good one for us. The season's going to be a slow start. Like, no, the approach is just go and get some movement early, and I think as well, us in I guess the midfield, there's a bit less to lose as far as risk and reward, and I think we will take chances and hopefully come off with a few big results, whether it's 8 races, 12, 15, who knows how many we'll get.
Yeah, I mean, have you had a conversation with Cyril? I mean, you've been in this position before, when leaving a team, kind of thing, and how you're going to work towards the end of the season, and ensure that everything's okay from your side.
Yeah, I've had a few with Cyril and with engineers and people in the team, pre, during, and post all the contract stuff. So yeah, it's obviously, I think at first, it's natural when you break the news. It's sometimes not easy to take, and it's also not easy to deliver. But no, there's certainly been conversations since then, and it's literally all focused on this year. I've been in the simulator already. Obviously, I did the test last week, so I'm fully involved with Renault and fully on board to deliver till the season's out. And I think that's what they expect from me, and obviously that's what I want to do to close this chapter as well.
Danny, I mean, pre-season testing seems ages ago, doesn't it? It's almost like in another season when we were all standing in that paddock in Barcelona. But I guess that's the only reference we've got, the only form heading into Austria. Racing Point looked very strong in the midfield. McLaren there or thereabouts. What is Renault's hopes, expectations? You mentioned obviously Austria was a tricky track for you guys last year, but where do you think you are as we head to the first race?
I think what we took from testing in Barcelona was, I remember after, we had the analysis of, where we feel the field is and the spread, from top to bottom. And the midfield, at least from our predictions, was like all within a tenth, like that's how we what we took away from testing, so I think there's going to be 4 or 5 teams, within a very, very small margin. I think, I'd like to say we have closed the gap to the top, but of course, the likes of, I think, Mercedes are still going to be pretty tricky to obviously come or overcome, at least early in the season. But the midfield stuff, as you mentioned, Racing Point and McLaren and all the other teams in there, it's going to be tight. So I think we're going to be somewhere there. But it's really, as I touched on before, flip of a coin. It's probably a bit of a flip of a coin at this moment in time, who's going to come out on top.
What do you expect from Esteban, Daniel? You always saw in winter testing what he was capable of. He's had that year out, but obviously having gone back to the Red Bull ring and saw it again, do you expect him to be pushing you all year? And do you think you've got him covered?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to to go on, obviously against him as a teammate, to see what he's got to offer, I think, within the team, but as a competitor. I'm certainly not taking, him lightly. I've realized that with these younger little ankle biters, as I experienced with Max. They're obviously fast, and I think, like all sports now, sports are evolving, and the kind of talent is getting younger and younger. So expecting some good challenges from Esteban. And it's not often you feel for a competitor, but I really felt for him in Melbourne, because we're all waiting to race, we're all waiting to go. It's been a few months, but for him it's been a few months and 12 months on top of that. So I was like, if I'm chomping at the bit to go, then I can't imagine what he's like. So I'm just excited, I think, for all of us to be able to go out and do what we love, and hopefully compete with some good intensity, I guess.
Danny, I've got to ask you, front page of one of the national newspapers yesterday, Sunday Times, this is the sports section, but obviously it was on the front of the paper. It was more from Lewis Hamilton. As we know, he's been very outspoken recently. I won't be silenced on racism. We're going to have more on this in the next part when Craig Slater joins us. But, he's out on the march yesterday. He's started the Hamilton Commission. And we've also seen this morning some good news out of Formula One. They started the hashtag We Race As One. It's going to be the new signboard of F1. We must return, it says, with added purpose and determination to tackle the major issues that we as a sport and society are facing. This, of course, is one of them. Early on in the piece, Lewis did accuse many of the I think drivers and bigger names in the paddock of remaining silent and not to do so, and use their platform as he does to invoke change and for good. What did you think of all of this and how it's being played out, and your support for Lewis going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly learned a lot, the last few weeks, or it's been probably close to a month now, and I've been reading, I've been watching, and I've certainly it's opened my eyes, and I've learned that just because you might not be or consider yourself a racist or a person of conflict or whatever, then it's like that's not enough, and it's you have to speak up, you have to educate yourself and others around you. Because what I've understood is being silent is kind of part of the problem, really. I've watched quite a few videos and stuff. I mean, there's been so much circulating on Twitter, on Instagram, and I felt a bit. I don't know. I don't know if it's like guilty or just kind of so like, how could I be so naive to everything that's been going on? And it's not only the last few weeks, but it's been months, it's been years, and it is good that finally I think more of the world is getting exposed to it and people are getting behind it, and also understanding that it's okay to speak up, and you're not going to be judged, you're not going to be criticized, and I think because of the volume of everyone getting involved, and all races getting involved, I think that's been really powerful. And some images have been moving. I've seen I follow a lot of sports, and there's a UFC fighter. I'm a big fan of UFC, and he's I think Nigerian descent, but he's a New Zealander, Israel Adesanya, and I was watching pictures, or saw pictures of him doing a march in New Zealand, and you could see like the tears and the pain, and obviously this runs deep for so many people. So it's I'm really happy and glad that all of us have been now exposed to it, and can understand more about it. And I'm sure it breaks a lot of people's hearts having to learn about it and watch videos. And I mean, some things they're so bad that you want to turn your phone off, but you kind of, I find myself watching and just kind of in disbelief, but then I'm like, how can I have not known more about this? So it's good, it's positive, and I think change is really happening.
Yeah, just to finish on that subject, I mean, education, as you were saying, I think we're all trying to educate ourselves on this subject, but in this post-COVID world, I suppose it plays into some of the other issues, and I think that's the whole point of this, that this campaign from Formula One, We Race as One, that maybe into the sustainability side as well, and with this new generation of F1 drivers coming through, it is a chance, isn't it, for the sport as a whole to just reform and work towards a kind of better tomorrow, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so much. I think it's kind of. I mean, how far do you take it? It's like everything. There's probably every aspect of everything we do in life. We can be better. We can do better. But it's actually, one thing is it's thinking about it. Then it's talking about it, and then it's actually acting on it. And I think now finally, actions are being taken, and but we have to hold ourselves accountable. And I think especially now it's not just a phase. It's not something that we do for a week and then forget about, and oh yeah, we've done our post on social media, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. It needs to continue, otherwise for real change to happen, it needs to continue. So I'm glad that we're doing what we can now, and it's a start.
Daniel, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to you as always. We will leave you to make your final preparations for the start of the new season. We wish you well, honestly, with your remaining time at Renault. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time in the Styrian Hills. Bring your lederhosen, I'm sure you will, or whatever turns you on. Tom,
I will, and I'll bring my fork and knife for plenty of schnitzel.